So I'm still trying to sort of reconcile this deluge. What are we? I think we're at 26 executive orders now, and reconcile that with the campaign rhetoric. Because in October, Joe Biden said there were limitations on the use of executive actions, things you can't do by executive order unless you're a dictator. We're a democracy. We need consensus. I think you said earlier that some of these executive orders were being used to roll back some of the immoral things that the previous administration had done. If you're calling these things immoral, is that seeking consensus and unity? And then also, I mean, does it suggest that President Biden sees himself as perhaps a benevolent dictator?
Well, Rob, I'm sure this wasn't your intention, but I think you took the president's comments a bit out of context. He was asked about tax reform and whether that could be done via executive order during the interview with George Stephanopoulos, which you're referring to.
But I think the
well, I think the question is pretty important context for everybody, and he said no. And the president also said during an interview with columnists back in December that he didn't think executive action should be used for everything, and that certainly is his point of view. But there are steps, including overturning some of the harmful, detrimental, and yes, immoral actions of the prior administration that he felt he could not wait to overturn, and that's exactly what he did. Now, any historian will tell you that he walked into the presidency at one of the most difficult moments in history that required additional executive action in order to get immediate relief to the American people. But he believes, as is law, as everybody knows how a bill becomes a law, is that in order to make action and policy permanent, you need to work with Congress. That's why he has also proposed a COVID relief package, a big, bold package. Some say very big. I agree with that. And also an immigration bill. He has not held back or delayed putting forward legislation either. So he's going to use the levers that every president in history has used, executive actions. But he also feels it's important to work with Congress and not just one party, but both parties to get things done.
So there's not going to be any delay on the tax increases?
No, well, I got to get the votes. That's why, the one thing that I have this strange notion. We are a democracy. Some of my Republican friends and some of my Democratic friends even occasionally say, well, if you can't get the votes by executive order, you're going to do something. Things you can't do by executive order unless you're a dictator. We're a democracy. We need consensus.
President Biden ran on a pledge to restore unity. He promised on Inauguration Day he'd be a president for all Americans, but since he's gotten into office, he's been largely acting unilaterally. I mean, we saw a record-breaking number of executive orders. He has not yet met with lawmakers on Capitol Hill, and we're not even quite sure who he's talking to on Capitol Hill. So what do you say to Americans who are watching all of these executive orders? And does the White House think that this is the best way to make policy, considering an opposing president could come back in 4 years from now and erase all the work he's done with the stroke of a pen?
Well, there's a lot to unpack there, so let me try my best. First, the president put forward a large and bold COVID relief package, $1.9 trillion, that is meant to address the challenges the American people are facing and the dual crises that that the country is facing, from the pandemic to an economic recession as a result. That package has the support of the majority of Americans, according to every poll that we have seen publicly released. So I would say first that part of unifying the country is addressing the problems that the American people are facing and working to reach out to Democrats and Republicans to do exactly that. And that's exactly what he's doing. He's had calls with Democratic and Republican members of Congress, many of them. He's doing more calls today, but he's doing calls regularly throughout the week and has done them back to when he was inaugurated and even before then. But he's also calling Democratic and Republican mayors and governors to talk to them about what their needs are on the ground. So his objective as president is to deliver on what he